All right, guys, let's talk about how to enhance the eyes in Photoshop. We're going to use the same technique we did on the teeth to make the eyes look good, meaning we're going to do it all with adjustment layers. So let's start by coming down here to the bottom of our layers panel, this little black and white circle right here. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to just choose a curves adjustment layer right here. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm just going to come and click right here in the middle of my curves, and I'm going to drag up and to the left. That's going to lighten up my whole image. You can see, well, if I move it down, it makes it darker. If I move it up, it makes it brighter. I just want to brighten this guy up just a little bit. We're going to basically, just by doing it in the middle, we're brightening up mostly the mid-tone. So that looks great. And then what I want to do here is I want to invert my layer mask. So I'm going to Command I that bad boy. And I'm going to grab my brush tool, keyboard shortcut B, make sure I'm painting with white. Then I'm going to Control Option left click to change the size. Left or right changes the size, up or down changes the hardness. I'm going to go with a very soft edge again, and I'm just going to come in and paint some highlight into these eyes right here. So I'm going to come to the bottom of the eye mostly, and I'm going to just come in and paint some brightness in there. Again, using a very soft edge, and I'm not doing the whole eye either. I mostly just want to kind of find, see this bright light right here? That's what's called a catch light, and I usually like to put this whitening opposite the catch light. So for me, that catch light is right there. So I'm going to just put that along the bottom right there. Same thing with this eye over here, although I might make the brush just a touch bigger to do that. Just a little swoop right there. And let's see our before and after here. All right, starting off to a good start. Again, if we don't love it 100%, we can always come in and either adjust our curve that we created, or we can adjust the opacity of the layer. So I could click right here, and I could bring the opacity of that down. Either way would be a way I could adjust the intensity of what I've done so far. All right, let's do another adjustment layer now. A little black and white circle. We're going to go hue saturation this time, and we're just going to do an increase of the general saturation. So I'm going to just crank that guy up. And again, I like to go a little bit too far so that it's very obvious what I'm doing. Command or Control I to invert that layer mask. Grab your brush tool. Make sure you're painting with white, and let's come and paint some saturation back into these eyes. I'm going to make my brush just a touch bigger, so I want to resaturate all of the color there. Look at that, that's looking nice. And that's obviously a little too intense, but don't worry, we're going to dial that down later. So we're just going to get just the color there and bring that nice and saturated. And again, we have two different ways of adjusting this. We can either come and click on the black and white circle and bring the saturation back down to a more reasonable level, or we can leave it high and again, just adjust the opacity. You decide to choose the method that works best for you. And again, if you want to see your before and after, just click on that little eyeball right there on the layers panel. And again, let me crank this back up so it's more obvious. Here's our after and our before. So find the spot that works good for you on this adjustment here. Now, my model here does not, but a lot of times people will have a lot of red in their eyes here in the white part. So I want to show you what to do about that. We're going to do another saturation adjustment layer. So I'll come up here and do hue saturation again. This time I'm going to choose reds. And again, similar to how we did teeth, I'm just going to desaturate the reds. And let's go a little bit extreme again, just so we can see it. You can see that took a lot of red out of the image. Let's invert that layer mask with Command or Control I. Grab our brush tool, make sure we're painting with white, and nice, small, soft edge brush. And if we had a lot of red here in the eyes, we could just come in and just paint that out of the white part of the eyes. To be careful, don't do that here. That ends up looking kind of weird. I would not recommend you do that. But getting the red out of the eyes right in there can make that look a lot better. And again, I'm doing too much here because I want it to be super obvious what I'm doing. And when I'm done with this, I will come back and either come in here and tone down the reds or adjust the opacity. Either way, whatever you decide to do. We're going to make one last adjustment layer here, and we're going to do another curves one. And this is going to be the most complicated one. So black and white circle, I'm going to choose curves here. And with this time, what I want to do is I only want to make the dark things in the photo darker, but not any of the bright things. And I got a problem here in that the bright things and the dark things overlap right here. So I have to be really careful in how I do that. So what I'm going to do is come over here to my curves curves panel here, and I'm going to just click towards the bottom here, right about here. I'm going to click and drag that down, and that's going to make the dark things in the photo darker, but it's also adjusting everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting the rest of this line back where it was. So basically, I'm going to maybe click right about here, and I'm going to drag that back up to the line. And now this one is messed up here. That's okay. I'm going to drag that back down. I just want most of the line to be normal and only have a little dip down there at the bottom. And you can see that really makes the dark parts of the image darker, but doesn't change the bright parts of the image. So same thing as before. Let's Command I that layer mask to invert it. Let's grab our brush tool, and we're just going to start painting those dark spots back in to make them a little bit darker. So I'm going to make this brush just a touch bigger and just a little whoop right there. And you can see that made the black part of the eye darker, but it didn't really adjust the catch lights. Let's do the same thing over here. And then let's do a little swoop around the edges of the eyes too. So I'm going to make this brush much smaller, right about there. And I'm just going to come and do a nice little soft line right there. And another one right there. And then here and here. You have to really be careful with this. This one is pretty easy to overdo. What I like to do is kind of zoom out so I can kind of see the whole thing. And then again, either, I think on this one, because this is such a fine adjustment right there, I think on this one it's easier to come in and adjust the opacity to change the intensity of this one. So I might bring that back down just a little bit. And there's my before and after. And that should be pretty subtle. You don't want it to be super obvious or it will look like a TV show on the CW. They really over enhance the eyes of the people in their videos. And that's it, you guys. That's how we're going to enhance and make the eyes look better in Photoshop.